Better Preach, Episode 103, Interviewing My Pastor with Father Luke Marquard. Welcome to Better Preach, a podcast for Catholic leaders on developing and delivering great Catholic talks. I'm your host, Ryan O'Hara, a Catholic speaker who specializes in parish missions and parish retreats. And I'm so excited to join you on your journey of communicating the true, the good, and the beautiful. Well, before I met Father Luke, his reputation as a great homilist preceded him. And now that I've had the great opportunity over the last couple of years to receive so much from his teaching and preaching, I would for sure agree those accolades were certainly warranted. For context, today, this is my pastor, Father Luke Marquard, over at St. Joe's here in West St. Paul. And one of the main launching points of our conversation is the interesting fact that over the last 2 years, he sort of switched things up so that he and his associate concelebrate together each of the 4 masses over the weekend, so that one of them preaches all of the homilies over the weekend. And this is such a gift for a variety of reasons that we'll get into, but I wanted to make sure we had that context set because that really kind of sets the stage for our conversation and then the conversations that follow. This was an incredible opportunity to connect with him, and especially for those who are from this archdiocese will know many of the names that will come up in conversation as well. Even a shout out to Bishop Cousins, who was on the podcast, as well as Father Jake Anderson, who was also on the podcast. So excited that I could finally sit down with Father Luke. This was an awesome conversation. Father Luke Marquard is a priest of the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and a member of the Companions of Christ. Ordained in 2013, he serves as the pastor of St. Joseph's here in West St. Paul. Along with a Master of Divinity degree, he also holds a master's degree in education from the University of Notre Dame. Go Irish. So, as I said, this episode was a long time coming, and because of some slight technical difficulties on my end, my bad, please forgive me, the release date kept being pushed out further and further, so much so that you'll hear mentions of his parochial vicar, Father Kyle, who as of this summer is no longer at St. Joe's. He's now serving at the cathedral. So before we start, I want to make sure you stop by, say hi on Instagram at Better Preach. Would love to connect there. Let's get started. Father Luke, welcome to the Better Preach podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today. Thanks for being here.
Me too. Absolutely.
We're here on your turf.
Yeah.
Here in St. Joe's, this beautiful spot. And I'm just really grateful we finally got our schedules synced up. The last time we were so close, we were getting ready to press record, and there was just one thing I couldn't quite figure out, but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, so good to be with you.
Thank you.
Before we got started, I remarked that you've given many, many more homilies than you have likely heard.
Yeah, probably at this point for sure.
Yeah, right. I was certainly before priesthood, you were on the receiving end.
Yeah.
But now you're on the giving end and sometimes receiving
Yeah.
end. I wonder, I'm going to ask about kind of a favorite or best moment or something that sticks out for you on the delivery side.
Sure.
But does a homily or a homilist stick out as significant or memorable or impactful in your life?
I'd say there are a few folks that I think of mainly being moved while they were preaching. I can't say that I remember exactly what it was they were preaching at this point.
Yeah.
But I've been impressed by some folks through the years. The one that comes to mind immediately, Father Tony O'Neill, just south of here in Egan.
Yeah.
I don't get to hear other priests preach very often, but he preached Father Heward's funeral mass.
Oh, wow.
And it was spectacular. He brings himself into it in a beautiful way and has this nice interplay between levity and gravity. And he's himself while he preaches. And he's clearly a man of the word. So that comes through naturally.
Yeah.
So he sticks out. During seminary years, blessed to have several from then Father Cousins, now Bishop Cousins, who preaches very well. And then there's little spots. I was able to hear a few times Archbishop Flynn. And what sticks out for his homilies is the way he's able to just bring in all of the normal experiences of human life and interactions. He seemed to have a story for everything.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, how does he do that? How does he take sitting next to someone on an airplane and have that be what leads into a homily?
He was a great storyteller.
Yes.
And such and it seems so natural
Yes.
and easy.
Yeah.
And so many bishops seem, I don't know what it is about being a bishop or something. So many bishops, it seems to just have that natural kind of storytelling. It's almost this effortless ability to get in and out of homilies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it makes me think when you describe the fact that you don't often get to hear as a priest other homilists, although I know you and Father Kyle here concelebrate often, but which we could get into some of that approach.
Yeah.
But I wonder, is there any impoverishment in not hearing other people preach more often?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I never really thought about it.
I've been here a year and a half, and so I think in the last year and a half, I've heard more homilies than in my first, 9.5 years, because I'm at Sunday Masses with Father Kyle.
Right.
We're doing this thing where one of us preaches every Mass each weekend, but we're both present for all of the Sunday Masses. So either concelebrating or in choir, so that both of us are here for the people.
Right.
And so now I'm hearing him every time he preaches on a Sunday. And
he's hearing you.
Yeah.
I'd like to just dig into that for a second.
Sure.
So up until this assignment, had you and any associates done that? Was that new?
The 8 years prior to being here, I was the only priest.
Okay.
And so I would hear the deacon every 4 or 5 weeks
Sure.
when I had a deacon.
Yep.
I didn't the whole time. And then prior to that, I was the associate. And I would sometimes hear the pastor, from the sacristy speaker.
Yeah.
But we weren't doing it in this sort of way where it's one guy all weekend long.
Yeah. What has been the fruit of that decision for the parish?
Yeah, I think twofold. One is just having both priests there has been well received by the people. That we're just both present to the people.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for our relationship, for Father Kyle and me, just to be in it together in that way.
Yeah.
So I guess that's two fruits already. One is just our presence to the people of the parish, and then our being side by side in the ministry. And then the other piece of it that I'm hopeful is bearing fruit, but the main motivation behind it is all the people hear the same homily in a weekend.
Right.
So it helps to ensure that everybody is hearing from their pastor, from me, at least with some consistency, because it could be if this weekend I have the 9 and the 11, next weekend I have the 5 and the 9, there could be 3, 4, 5 weeks where someone, because of their personal schedule, never actually hears from the pastor.
Sure.
Or never hears from Father Kyle.
Sure.
And so this takes some of that away.
What is the coordination like? Do you talk to one another about?
A little bit. One of the things that I've been impressed with Father Kyle is he's clearly attentive to my homilies because he'll build on them and he'll reference them.
Yeah.
And so even without us speaking a particular strategy that we want to be hitting these points, he's just making that happen naturally or by his own efforts. So we haven't sat down and said, okay, we want to do a series of any particular kind. We've had some conversations that right now we want to be, as it fits, I don't want to force something into the texts for the weekend, but as it fits, like right now, we want to be talking about proclaiming the word, about being evangelists, being apostles, and that pops up in different ways.
Has there been any downsides or difficulties in making that leap?
Sometimes I get, I don't want to say upset, disappointed that I'm not preaching.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
It's one of these things that's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but like if I don't have the homily for a weekend,
Right.
I'm not spending as much time with the Sunday texts
Oh,
as I
interesting.
would on a weekend when I am.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been thinking about what I would preach.
Yeah.
And then sometimes as I'm hearing the readings, I'm like, oh,
That'll preach. Yeah.
yeah, that'll preach. It's like, well, I guess I'll have to save that for 3 years.
Right. If it happens to come back around for
Yeah.
your Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, that tells me so much about your preacher's heart. The word does just jump off the page for you. And there is a rhythm that I'm sure all priests get into is if I'm presiding, I'm probably preaching. And so the whole thing, whereas oftentimes, every other week you'll be presiding at times and not preaching.
Yeah.
As a member of the parish, but I just want to affirm that bold move, and also the humility that it takes to step back, every other week. But for yourself, is there a moment or two that kind of stick out? God really did something beautiful through your preaching, and you maybe had the joy of seeing that fruit even. I'm sure there are many times where you don't see it, but the fruit's there.
I don't know if this is exactly an answer to that, but somewhere along the line, I decided it's okay to have handouts. And it's been way less present here than it was at my previous parish. In fact, a friend of mine, Father Jake Anderson, still makes fun of me because he's a man who listens to homilies. That's part of his, I don't know if I want to call it recreation or part of his formation, ongoing study. He'll listen to several homilies, even every week. And so he would listen to mine, and he would make fun of me when he would see me because I'd say...
With the handouts?
Like, if you didn't take one on your way in, take one on your way out.
Yeah.
Take it home, pray with it. So that's what he always says to me. Take it home, pray with it. That's come back to me from people, even years later. Even recently, somebody opened up in the confessional their prayer book and said, I still have this,
this
handout from, like, she was from a previous parish and still carrying it around. And so I recognize, like, especially folks who have kids around them, or in our place are just kids always around.
Yeah.
You might not retain, something might not catch in the moment. I like people to be able to have something with them, if it can be fruitful for them, if it's helpful, a takeaway that they can revisit, especially if there's a quote or a prayer that I'm introducing or questions that might be helpful to ask. So that's one of the things that at least surfaces for me as you ask that question. And then there have been a couple of times, I think, where like the Lord has really put something on my heart, sometimes by way of even circumstances. So one that sticks out there is back in August, I went down to Omaha for my uncle's funeral, and it was right in the middle of my homily prep time. I was preaching that weekend, and so all of my time that I generally spend in my usual ways was driving back and forth from Omaha. And so it was homily prep in the car.
Yeah.
And I had just read Rescued from Father John Riccardo, and the Lord spoke to me through that, like, we need to get back to basics.
Yeah.
And what is the gospel? What are we saying yes to? What is the Lord asking of us in response? And so I'd like 12 hours of car time to sort that out and practice it aloud.
Yeah.
And, I think that one really landed really well. And the other one that sticks out as memorable for me was Jonah a few years ago. I don't listen to a lot of homilies, but I do listen to a lot podcasts, audiobooks, and that sort of thing. And I had at that time been listening to Jordan Peterson in his Old Testament talks. And he really gets into Jonah in a big way. Yeah. And then Jonah comes up on the Sunday calendar once every 3 years.
Right.
I thought, well, I'm just getting into Jonah. So I handed out the entire book of Jonah.
Oh my gosh.
And it
Did
was
you?
the longest homily I've ever given.
How long was it?
It was like 23 minutes. If I got out my phone and checked my text messages to Father Jake Anderson,
Yeah.
I could tell you, because he would always tease us for being short, because he goes 20 plus routinely.
Yeah.
And I texted him afterwards. I think it was like 23:58.
Yeah. Proud.
And he responded, "You are not far from the kingdom."
That's awesome. I love that.
But to be able to explore the book of Jonah
Mm-hmm.
with the people, and I warned him, I said, "All right, buckle up. This is going to be a long one."
Yeah. In both of those, the homily following, John Ricardo's book and what came out of that, or this Jonah example, what did you hear from folks about maybe the Jonah example? Because the homily seems to be this 7 to 12 minute thing on Sundays, 3 to 4 minute thing on weekdays, let's say.
Yeah.
I imagine there was teaching, there was some real teaching involved there was preaching.
Yeah.
How did people receive it?
There was feedback that came back to me, because in the text, it's just this little piece
Yep.
of the book.
Yep.
And so to be able to provide
sure.
the
Right.
whole context
Right.
for people, so that was appreciated, because to be able to know, like, how does this fit into the larger story of salvation? How does this passage from the text today fit into the broader story of that book from the Bible? I'm a big fan of context. Where does this fit? Why is this important? How is this part of the bigger picture?
Yeah.
So I do remember people remarking on that.
Yeah, because I think there's a biblical literacy question
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And I've often thought, I wish more Catholics, or even myself, could better understand the literal placement of these readings in the Bible.
Yeah.
And even being able to see that this chunk that we hear on Sunday is a part of this chapter. We don't often get that
Right.
context.
Right.
Thankfully, there's a lot of great resources out there that help provide that. But through homilies,
Yeah.
it's a limited venue,
Yes.
but it's a consistent venue. And I love that you took that leap with Jonah.
Yeah.
My take is that there's a lot of meat left on the bone when it comes to homilies in terms of how it could go with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that handout is one of the practical ways that we can do that. So more of that, Father.
Yeah. And the one that really was fruitful is for a few liturgical seasons at my previous parish. I handed out, sort of like with the Sober October booklet this year, the readings for people to be spending time with ahead of Sunday.
Yep.
And that really garnered a lot of good conversation, because then people, I remember Tim in particular, he came up to me after a Sunday homily and said, "I have a bone to pick with you, because I've been thinking all week about this question that I had in the gospel, and you didn't address it."
What a great comment.
Because he was spending time with the Word, right? And I think, boy, how much more could the Lord be doing through the homily if everybody was coming in having spent the kind of time like that I'm spending with the Scriptures ahead of Sunday.
Sure.
They're coming in and maybe just almost hearing the whole thing.
Yeah.
As they're proclaimed, and that's depending on the lector and who's around them and what they're carrying in with them that week. And it's just like, to reference the Scripture in the homily, they may not have even heard it.
Yep.
And so if folks could be coming in having spent some time with those readings ahead of Sunday, I think that opens up what the Lord can do by way of the homily.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I remember even both my parents are now deceased, but they were members of St. Joe's.
Okay.
And they died in 2022 and 2024, respectively. But from 2015, when they moved here from Indianapolis until COVID, we would be vigil mass, mostly, a few rows from the back, my 4 sons and my parents and Jill and I, and we would sort of stagger kid, grandparent, kid, parent. And but my mom, God bless her, she would always read the readings ahead of time.
Okay.
And she would whisper to the boys, the word of the day is kingdom, or faith or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. I could have done that. I should have done that. But she brought that to the table.
Yeah.
And I know that helped the boys, like
Yeah.
just to listen for that word. We're going to hear it multiple times or,
Yeah.
So I love that. And that was the spirit of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She was ready to receive the word and actually to help my boys, her grandsons, receive it. She did.
A little bit, yeah.
She did. And I love that. We were always coming in hot, probably a half minute or 2 minutes late or something. And she would whisper over and they'd kind of pass the word down, So you give exceptional homilies on Sunday and each day of the week. And I marvel at that. I marvel at your ability to bring something of great value with great conviction and a sense that I have a word for us today.
Yeah.
For a lay person who loves preaching, I receive so much from you as a preacher. How do you bring such intentionality? So I just want to name a few things. There's an intentionality, there's a focus, there's a brevity that I actually think is valuable. You don't waste your words. I think you make the most of your words in a homily. And I see a lot of waste. I'm an extrovert. I waste a lot of words. And the same thing is true, but in a shorter form in the daily homily. And so I want to get behind that. And I think, wow, somebody could really be a great homilist on Sunday or a great homilist on weekdays. But you bring something of value in each circumstance consistently. And I wonder what's behind some of those things because we hear it, we experience it. So that's a long setup to try to get behind some of what enables that.
I haven't ever thought about the way that you said that there with, I don't waste words or the words matter, but it resonates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would have said it like that, but I would imagine, I don't even have to imagine, I would assert that that's a great deal to do with training as a journalist, as a writer, and being a reader. So I write all of my homilies, Sunday homilies, and a major part of my homily time is tightening it into what I'll call a package. And some of the brevity would be, okay, I recognize that if I don't want people to get uncomfortable with the length of things, I know that my homily needs to fit on this many pages at this size font.
Sure.
With these size margins, right?
Yeah.
And so the last few hours of my homily prep are making it fit and making sure it still flows as a unit, I would say. And so I'm a writer, and then a part of that is trying not to make it sound like I'm reading something. So getting it into my voice through that process. But yeah, there is an intentionality. I want to make sure that whatever it is the Lord had been stirring through the week is ready to go for Sunday.
Yeah. So, for example, how many pages is it written out like a blog post would be written out, for instance?
Yeah, so it depends on what part of the week we're in. So early in the week, there's a lot of handwritten note cards. Something will strike me in my time of prayer in the morning, or maybe while I'm in the confessional later, something hits or I heard something. And so I've got this collection of things at some point during the week that I set out. But final product would be both sides of an 8.5 by 11 landscape, 2 columns, so like a little booklet.
Wait, landscape.
Yeah, and then folded, so
Whoa.
My homilies are, I try not to go beyond 4 of these pages.
Okay. And do you have it formatted that way on your computer? Like, you see like 4 half pages basically.
Yeah.
And you type into it sort of top to bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And then what font? I'm curious.
Right now it depends. I'm into fonts, so it changes from time to time.
Sure.
Right now it's just Palatino linotype, 11 size, right justified.
Okay. I love
Single
it.
space with a break between paragraphs.
Wait, with a break between paragraphs. Yeah. Okay. So that sounds okay. Did your love for fonts have a connection to your background in journalism?
Yeah. Yeah, that really started then. So when I went off to undergrad, I thought I was going to be an English major, sort of fell out of love with that idea and was introduced to journalism.
Yeah.
I ended up with an undergraduate degree in public relations and advertising, worked in marketing, and then worked in some editorial. And along the way, sort of picked up some of the design stuff. And there was a point at which that was going to be my plan. I was going to go to art school for graphic design.
Sure.
And, I still use some of that stuff in the priesthood, which for a while I thought, why did all those years pass wasted like that? And now I'm seeing more and more fruit from that time.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. So I love seeing that. Sometime you'll have to show me. Maybe I don't know if you show other people that. I'm a nerd on that kind of stuff too, just in terms of my process. I never put anything on the back side of,
Sure.
So anyway, I was just trying to imagine what you had there. So that's fascinating. So how long would that be?
In terms of like minutes?
Length, yeah, roughly. If it was full, if it was four sides.
Well, how long are my Sunday homilies?
Well, 10.
Somewhere around, yeah. I'd say when I practice those things, and it's never the same in delivery as in practice.
Right.
But I'd say it's 2.5 to 3 minutes per half.
Per sheet.
Yeah, per page.
Yeah. Yep. How do you use those notes?
Yeah, so they're in front of me. And if I've done what I'd like to do through the week and weekend, they're there as reference. And especially once I get to the 9 and 11, I'm way less on those. But they're with me at the pulpit.
Do you mark them up at all, or you just print it out and it's there?
I print it. It's there. Sometimes in the moments, in the minutes between when I get to the sacristy with it and when it's time to go, something will strike me. So sometimes there's handwritten notes on the side of them. If that happens on a Saturday, I'll often come back with a fresh version on Sunday. That happens a lot anyway. Saturday evenings, sort of like the trial
the dry run, right? Yeah.
I warn people about that. Like, you're getting the dress rehearsal tonight.
Yeah, for that's probably, but it's true. I hear this so often in the podcast, but like that's natural and normal. If I give a talk a second time, it's gonna be better. So yeah, everybody out there, if you're vigil mass goers, you're probably not consistently getting the best of what might come out. But
that didn't work at all. Something I've been convinced all week was.
Oh, is that right?
Work. It's like, woo.
Now, what is it? Is it more like I hear that a lot, like with jokes, or I don't know. Is it even things like like illustrations or examples that just you thought were gonna
something I
fly
thought would get some sort of reaction, not like laughter or anything sometimes, but like I thought I would see some sort of reaction to that, or even as I'm saying this. Even though I've said it 4 times already, but now that I'm speaking it in the church, in this context, it's just, I can tell it's not doing what I thought it was going to do.
Yeah. Sometimes I have found that I have that experience in part when I'm not as clear in my mind of what that idea was.
Sure.
How would you identify maybe what the disconnect is for something that doesn't land?
Just a sense that, that didn't work.
Yep.
Now, I'm not always right about that because sometimes I'll say to Father Cobb, I'm like, well, that was rough. He
Interesting.
said, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And so I won't cut the thing I was thinking about cutting and so it can be, I'm worn out or I'm too familiar with it and I'm sick of hearing it. I don't know.
That could very well be the case that actually that was, it's so often we think, oh, that was great. And then there wasn't the same kind of reaction, or, oh, that was terrible. And then people are like, oh, that was really helpful. So, Lord, which is it? I think about your journalism background and that sort of famous journalistic credo to not bury the lead.
Sure.
And I think if I was going to say what in one idea, what I see you doing so well is never burying the lead. And you have a lead in your mind.
Yeah.
I imagine, has that been a piece of what you're bringing to the table from journalism into into preaching?
Probably. I guess I'm not thinking in those categories as much anymore, but I know where I want to go. And that's what I'm looking for. Like I'm praying for sometime by Wednesday or Thursday. I want to know where I'm going.
Yeah. And when you say where I'm going, what does that look like or feel like?
If I were going to break it down, I think my process is I'm looking for something in those scriptures for Sunday that just catches me.
Yeah.
I think that's step one. Like, does something here give me pause? And then I ask, and the way I ask it is, does this give a normal person pause? Because there are some things that might catch me in a sort of way, but it's
as a priest,
like really niche or something like that,
sure.
right? So does this have a broader appeal? Or the people in the pews, would this resonate? Is this something that would catch them, or is this a question that they'd be interested in exploring? So it caught me. That's one thing. And then does it have a broader appeal?
That's a great question.
And then how do we get there in a way that isn't forced?
Yeah.
And so when I say I want to know where I'm going, it's like, what is it that's caught me that I think could catch other people? What's the Lord speaking to me that I have a sense that he wants other people to hear? There's some of that stuff that's just going to be for me.
Yep.
That's what the Lord wants to speak to me for whatever reason. But then there's going to be some that, this is where we're going this weekend.
With your process, how often do you refer back to 3 years prior, 6 years prior, 9 years?
Yeah.
Do you catalog
I do.
your talks in that way, like according to?
So if I were preaching this weekend, at some point I would look up 08_OT_C and see what's there.
Wait a minute. Okay. Help decipher that. I know C.
Eighth Sunday,
Ordinary OT, Ordinary
Time,
year C. And you have an 07, OT, year C, so on.
And so it's always interesting. Like, I try not to go there as an early move.
Yep.
Because I want to see what the Lord's doing right now, this year, in this place. If I'm stuck, sometimes I'll go back. Or if I'm not preaching, or it's time for a bulletin article.
There you go.
Sometimes I'll go back like, well, I'm not preaching this weekend. Let's see what I did 9 years ago and see if I can put that in the bulletin.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then there have been a few times where I've gone back to like, I wonder what I did last time. And it's the same. Not exactly, but it's like, oh.
Yeah.
You mean I didn't need to research this again because I've already researched it?
But do you regret that?
No.
Research time.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's a funny way about, I think, just the way that I'm built, that I don't remember some of that stuff. I could watch The Office for the fifth time and still not know what's going to happen in an episode.
And love it as though you're seeing it the first time. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I feel that way with Seinfeld. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. How often does the Holy Spirit give you something different than what's in front of you? Maybe not in a whole sense, but like as you're preaching it, are there times where something hits you really strongly and you go a slightly different direction, or you...
Yeah. So I think I could see one of the criticisms being, because it's written out, like, where's the room for the Holy Spirit? I'm going to argue he's been there all week. And he was there when I was stuck and went and did something else in the middle. It was like, there it is.
Yeah.
So come Holy Spirit. But yeah, sometimes in the moment, one mass to another, there's something different. There's an interaction that happens between masses that's seemingly unrelated, but it makes me recognize, there was something I hadn't been considering that people might be carrying into this thing. So like interactions with people actually really helps, and knowing my people really helps. And there are times I'm like, okay, I just happened to see someone come in to this mass who I met with a couple of weeks ago, who's carrying something super heavy in the way that I've been preaching this would maybe be hurtful, unintentionally so. But we're going to soften this or say it in a different way or drop an example. Or somebody comes in and it's like, oh, I think they need to hear this emphasized a little bit more.
That's really interesting, and that makes sense. It actually reminds me of something that Pope Francis said in Evangelii Gaudium, that the homily is the touchstone of a pastor or a priest's relationship with his people. And it's sort of a place where that relationship plays out publicly and corporately, but it always comes back to the priest in relationship with his congregation.
Right.
And it's interesting to hear how that impacts you.
I learned that lesson about the relationship with the parish being in the background of everything, I think is the way that the Holy Father said it. But I'd call it the hard way at my first pastorate. You know, I had come out of teaching parish and a deacon summer and a first assignment as a priest at 3 similar parishes, and I'd spent my first 2 years as a priest. I'd say it just sort of being the kindler, gentler of the 2 priests. And
Good cop, bad cop.
Not even intentionally, just like disposition-wise.
Yeah.
And we could be preaching about the same thing, but just in a different manner. And so anyway, but when I got into my first pastorate, I came in preaching to them as I'd been preaching to the previous congregation for 2 years, not knowing them not knowing me, and had some real misses early in my time there.
Tell me about one of them that kind of sticks out.
Yeah.
And what happened there?
Poor prudence, probably on my part, but, so it was 3rd or 4th week there, July, and there had been a missionary priest on either the 2nd or 3rd weekend. So it was really my 2nd or 3rd time preaching. I had been coming from a place where preaching on natural family planning would have actually sort of been a norm. And it was Natural Family Planning Sunday.
Interesting.
That the bishops were, promoting. And so I decided I was going to preach on natural family planning. And it's a homily I've probably gone back to 30 times to see like what went wrong. And
what did go wrong?
I think what I would argue is it wasn't the right time for that homily for that congregation in my short duration of time there. I could say there's nothing within that was problematic or even harsh, or like it was just like they didn't know me, I didn't know them. It wasn't the right time for that homily.
And you're talking about a sacred, complex reality of the nature of husbands and wives' sexual relationship and birth control and all of this stuff. And was it just that idea that...
Yeah, it was, like I said, I've gone back to it many times, and as I read it, and I think I'm reading it honestly, I've had a few other folks look at it, there's nothing in it that was like a condemnation, judgment. I was promoting the good and even recognizing the challenges that are present in that, but just wasn't the right time for it. For many of them. It was the most polarizing, I think, of any homily I've ever given.
Is that right?
Because I had some people say they weren't going to come back, and other people say we've been waiting 20 years for that homily,
I was going to say, how did you discover that it was a mismatch?
Oh, some of the notes that came in on collection envelopes.
Literally?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like
minutes later.
Yes.
You got people with pens and pencils and collection envelopes.
One of the parts that's so disappointed about is I had zero anticipation that could happen. I'd been a priest for 2 years, preaching for 3, because one is a deacon, and had never had people not receptive to what I was preaching, and never had people angry about what I was preaching, and that happened here. I'm grateful for it now, certainly coming into here as a new pastor, there was an awareness of we need to get to know each other. But also I think I was at a different place then. My first 2 years as a priest, where it would have been very common from my pastor to be preaching on the moral issues. And even cultural issues. And I'm so not interested in that anymore. Not interested in like chasing drama. So the Holy Father said this, or this thing's happening in the world, and Father, you got to talk about that. And I'm just much more interested in what's the gospel. And I think it was probably halfway through my priesthood, maybe even more recently, I went back and reread one of our books from homiletics. It might be called Why Preach. Cameron?
Yeah, Father Peter Cameron.
Yeah.
Why Preach?
And he has a whole section in there on moralizing. And I read that, I'm like, oh, crap. That's what I've been doing without knowing it. Yeah. Or that's where I would tend to. That was an easy place to go.
How would you summarize that position he's taking?
I don't even know anymore. I don't remember. I just know it hit me. And for what I was is telling people what they should or shouldn't do, maybe would be how I'm remembering it. Yep. I'm really sensitive to that, especially that has to do with moral activity. If Jesus speaks about it first, I feel like there's definitely some room there. I don't have an interest in the homily being the place where we're going to hammer out the cultural issues. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I think there's a time and a place for the cultural warriors. Mm-hmm. I don't think the homily is it. Mm-hmm. And I might be alienating some folks in saying that, or some brother priests in saying that, because I know that some do that sort of stuff. But if we want to talk about these issues, absolutely, let's do it. But I just don't see the Mass as the place for that.
And maybe this experience with preaching on natural family planning was a foray into that in a time and a place that it wasn't received. And you would now go back and do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like that was an aha moment for you of sorts.
Yeah.
Do you look back like that was a turning point?
Yeah, I think even just for like humility, because I was riding pretty high at that point around people in parishes that just loved priests and I think were really well formed. And I don't want to say that the people at this parish didn't love priests, but it was a different sort of environment. It was the first time that I just kind of got my ass handed to me. A couple of different ways that I hadn't experienced before, certainly as a priest and maybe even professionally, just wasn't used to that.
What was the conversation with God like? What was the spiritual nature of that moment for you?
I think it took me a while to get there, actually, because ego had been bruised and I was going to fix things. Or what's wrong with all these people? Like all of those things were certainly surfacing. It was a moment that the Lord used to help me ask that question. And I think I referenced it earlier, like, do the people have that question? Or is this catching for them? Is this going to speak to them? So it's not, what do I want to tell them, but what do they need to hear? What do they want to hear?
Yeah, what are they ready to hear?
Maybe get out of the way of some of my initial ideas if I don't get some confirmation that this is what the Lord is wanting to have preached.
Yeah.
Because there are all sorts of ideas that I have, like, oh, this would be cool. Or so-and-so needs to hear this. Yeah. Like, hey, wait a minute. This is what the Lord's asking right now.
I think you're, if I can say this, I think you're a preacher's preacher. Your preaching is having a big impact on our lives. And so I hope you get to hear it often and it's making a difference. I wonder what you love most about preaching.
I don't know that I've thought about that question. What do I love most about preaching? At least a part of it is sharing what catches my heart and being able to do that joyfully. It's like a very short 10 to 12 minute moment of taking that fire that's in my heart and sharing it with another.
Yeah.
I know when that's missing. When I feel like if I'm not excited about this, then I'm like, because then it's just like a command performance sort of thing.
Sure.
And that's not what I want the homily to be. And thanks be to God, it's mostly not that. Yeah. There are times when I have to fake it, and I hate, and I don't mean fake the words, it's all still true. If I have to fake my excitement to be up there, something's not right.
Right.
Either I'm off or this isn't what I should be preaching at that time. But what I love about preaching is when I get to share something that the Lord has revealed to me in some sort of way that I think you should know too.
Yeah.
That I think you should hear too.
Well, Father, thank you for the incredible care that you take to prepare, to pray, and then to deliver it with great enthusiasm, zeal. I just get an overwhelming sense of your love for the people, and that comes through. So this interview has been a long time coming. I've wanted to interview you as soon as you arrived on the scene here at St. Joe's, and so I'm so grateful that we finally got to get together today. This has been a blast. I will recommend, if folks want to hear your homilies, to check things out at the church. Is it Church of St. Joseph? I have it saved. What is the website?
So church spelled out. So CHURCHOFST Joseph.org.
Church of St. Joseph.org. Got it. And
came up with that before they realized how often people would be typing these things.
It's
so
right.
long.
It is. Someday a new one. Yeah, but so if folks wanted to, reach out to you, they could find you on the website.
Well, better than most probably. Be patient.
Yeah, email. It may take a minute, but he will get back to you. Well, Father, this has been a great joy, and I pray that God may continue to bless you and strengthen you as a teacher and a preacher. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. Please leave a rating and written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And if you're feeling up for it, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show. ryanohara.org/betterpreach. There's a little contact form there. Would love to hear from you. And finally, you have millions of choices when you listen to podcasts. Thanks for pressing play today. See you next time.